Welcome to another edition of formerly known as the Entrepreneur Journey podcast. You'll see a video on my YouTube explaining all why Entrepreneur Journey, the title is going away, and now it is the Profitable Christian Business Podcast. But I am so pleased to have Catharine O'Leary with me here today. Catharine and I have been trying to get this podcast interview up for a while now, but she's had travel plans. We've had things come up, so it is really good that we finally get to sit down and have a conversation. So welcome, Catharine. If you don't mind, I don't want you to go into your entire story or everything about who you are, but if you could give us a brief introduction.
Yeah. So hi, everyone. Thank you for having me, Doug. My name is Catharine O'Leary. I am from a small town just outside of Toronto, Canada. 45 minutes outside of Toronto, so still close enough to go to the city, but not actually be in the city. And I consider myself a small town kid because of that. And I have 3 younger sisters, 4 nieces, and a nephew that we are just getting ready to all go up to a cottage and spend a week for a family vacation, which I'm very excited about.
Nice. You said small town. I myself was born in a small town, and that just anytime somebody says a small town, I was born in Ohio. I lived a lot of my younger years though in Florida, and it's a contrast there. But I remember in Ohio being a young kid, and hopping on my bicycle with my friends. This is going to age me, right? Before we let now we don't let kids go much further than the neighbor's house on a bike, but we would probably ride our bike a mile, maybe a mile and a half to the Dairy Queen in Ohio. And there was the local swimming pool. At the park, I remember everything was great growing up as a kid in a small town. And and if you got in trouble, your neighbor told your mom.
Oh, not even just your neighbor, like the bank manager,
Yes.
the convenience store clerk. It's like, wow, yeah, she was in like right after the bus. Wasn't she supposed to go straight home? Like you were
Mm.
busted before you got into the house. Like,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
nothing
Well,
got by your parents.
I miss those days of everyone watching out for one another.
Yeah, we used to get up and like take off in the morning, come back for lunch, and then basically you just had to be home by the time the streetlights were on.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yep.
in the summertime, that's like 9:30.
Yep.
Like we would be gone all day, just riding bikes and going out into the country. And I don't even know what we did, honestly, but we did a lot, and it was all outside.
Yeah, I remember much like you, just being outside and starting to see the sun come down, and I'd know that I was so many miles away from my home, and I was like, we need to pedal fast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those streetlights are coming on soon.
Yeah, yeah. So it was a lot of fun. So living in Canada, I don't know if you've always lived there. What's your favorite season and why?
So I live in Southern Ontario, and fall is amazing. We
Mm.
are surrounded by maple trees,
Oh,
so
wow.
the fall colors are stunning. I also love that, after the heat of summer to get that crispness of
Mm.
fall, and it's still nice enough to go out and maybe have a fire at night, but you're in your comfy hoodie and under the blanket, and comfort foods are coming back,
Mm. Nice.
and the busyness of summer is kind of over, and you're just starting to wind down and get ready to basically hibernate, because that's what we do once the winter hits and the cold hits. So it's definitely fall.
Nice. If you could travel anywhere in the world, like right now, where would that be, and why would you go there?
It's a great question. So I've traveled quite a bit. I've never been to a lot of Europe. So
Mm.
I've been to Ireland and Australia, Shanghai, Thailand, all through America, all through Canada. But I've never been to like Greece or Portugal
Mm.
or Spain. So I think that I need to plan a trip there. And I'm always up for an Ireland trip. I'm always up to go home. So.
Nice. Yeah, I had a friend just recently go to Spain and share some of the pictures there. That is kind of one of our family's bucket list items as well. So, yeah.
Mhm.
All right, so now we do the fill in the blank question. I ask this of every entrepreneur. Usually, the question is different, and the answer is always surprising to me. Usually, so your fill in the blank question is: entrepreneurship is the vehicle through which I blank.
It's a vehicle that I wrestled back control of
Hmm.
my schedule. So I, again, small town kid, didn't want to live in the city, so I ended up moving even further north than where I grew up. So I now live about an hour and a half north of Toronto. So my corporate jobs, were always in the city. So that meant a 3-hour daily commute. And entrepreneurship was my vehicle to get out of the car and stop wasting that kind of time. Because honestly, like I got to the point where there just weren't enough audiobooks and podcasts in the world that would keep me from, just being really frustrated and annoyed with the amount of time that I was wasting.
Yeah, I remember there was a job I had where it wasn't 3 hours, but it was an hour, a little over an hour each way. And I still like, they're not paying you for
It
that
adds up.
travel time. If you're, whether you're
Yeah.
making a salary, I mean, I guess they kind of are if you're making a salary, not really, but definitely if you're hourly, you're not being paid for that travel time. And it's 2 more hours, 3 more hours out of your life. Um, which I am great that I've had a business now for over 15 years that has been virtual before everybody started
Yeah.
going virtual. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's one of my favorite things about being an entrepreneur myself is just the freedom and the time schedule that it allows. Not to say that you don't have to treat it like work because it is work, but at the same time you get to do that
Yeah.
work on your schedule.
Well, and it's not that I replaced that kind of wasted time with productive time. So,
Yes.
now I work those hours. Like it's not like I'm, lazing in bed, or I mean, sometimes I am because I get to. But like actually just, being able to, say, you know what, I'm going to start the day today at, I don't have any meetings until 11, so I'm going to go out and do all my errands, or just, catch up on some reading, or catch up
Mm,
on some, working out or whatever. And like I get to pick and choose, and that, that 3 hours a day is a lot of time back in your life,
yeah.
as for doing things that you can actually, like not sitting in the car in traffic.
Yeah. I also like to think of it's opportunity. The extra hours is an opportunity to work on your business rather than in your business. Because a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we work so much in our business that we sometimes forget we need to take time to work on our business.
Yeah.
So that those extra hours help with that. So awesome, awesome. I want to get into your story now. So I know very little about you. I think we connected through email. We may be in another group together.
Mhm.
Um, but all I know of you is that you are the quiz queen, and now I know a little bit
Mhm.
like you live in Canada, all of that sort of stuff. But I
Yeah.
want to know like how you started your entrepreneur journey. Kind of take us to where you are now.
Sure. So I actually, so when I started my career, I started in corporate, and I was in market research and consumer insights. And that's a really fancy way of saying that I asked a lot of questions of a lot of people and translated their answers into corporate speak. So
Mm,
into new product development, into new messaging or new sales conversations. And I did that for 30 years. And I worked up and down the Fortune 50. So I've worked with Steve Jobs, and when he was at Apple, or I was at Apple when Steve Jobs was there. I worked with BlackBerry. I worked with Pepsi,
mm,
always in that market research and consumer insights role. So always, looking to understand the ideal client a little bit better, understand what they needed next, and then helping corporations build or create whatever that was. When I left Pepsi, which was an amazing corporation to work with, I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. Like my skill set felt so corporate,
mm,
and I knew I didn't want to be a market research supplier, so I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to do this. So I started in network marketing,
mm,
and love that business model, love the people, the events, the program, and the courses. But what I found out is that I was terrible at lead generation. Like terrible, like more money going in than like
mm,
going out than coming in. I did all the things wrong. I was throwing money at paid advertising I had no
mm,
business doing, and didn't return any investment. I was posting forever into the Ethernet or
Abyss.
whatever, and it was going nowhere. It was going out into space and never to be seen again. And I was having sales calls where I thought, like if I just get people on a call, I can convince them, like, because what I've got is really good. And it was personal development. I mean, of all
Mm,
things, shouldn't be convincing people of that. So I, I came to a realization that either I figured this out and got this lead generation under control, or I went back to corporate,
mm,
right? So like the decision time had come, and I realized that there were enough, like, again, like not enough audiobooks and podcasts in the world to get me back in the car for 3 hours a day. So I figured it out. Like I went off in a search. I got a mentor, a business mentor, and he introduced me to quiz funnels.
mm,
And when I saw how entrepreneurs were using questions and curiosity and basically questionnaires to really attract their ideal clients and make sure that they were qualified leads, I was, all the lights went on. It was
mm,
like, yes, this is finally okay. This is what I can do. So I created a quiz for my own networking company, and I tripled my leads and I doubled my sales.
wow.
I was like, okay, this is good. But it's a sample size of one. So,
Mm,
not not, claiming triumph yet. And I actually went off and asked a couple colleagues if I could, try it out with them, and they got similar results. And once
mm,
I realized that with my background and the kind of the art and science of market research, coupled with this new entrepreneurial spin of using quizzes for qualified leads and then further on for client retention, I found my niche. I kind of felt like I came home. So I left the network marketing business because I really wanted to concentrate on building um, this, you know, um, this ideal client academy to really
mm.
make sure that entrepreneurs were not just, attracting their ideal clients, but keeping them longer. And that was 5 years ago. So
Wow.
we're still going.
Oh, nice, nice. Now I want to dive into some of that expertise as the quiz queen that you are. We do a secret question on every one of these, and the secret question for you is: what is the secret to using questions and quizzes to attract and retain those ideal clients?
So I think the secret is really you've got to know your ideal client super well, because you really
Mm,
need to understand their 3 a.m. question. That question that they wake up with, in the middle of the night and say, I just wish, or how am I going to, or holy, holy moly, how am I going to do
mm,
this? What is that, deep desire in their own words, right? Like what is that? What do they wake up with and immediately say? Because I can guarantee you, my clients, they don't wake up thinking, how can I, optimize my quiz funnel? Right? No one wakes up at 3 a.m. like me. I wake up at 3 a.m. wondering that. But
mm,
I think me and one other person in the world might actually use those words. Uh, but my clients wake up thinking, how can I get, more people into my programs? How can I get more clients? How can I, increase my impact? How can I make sure that the people that are looking for me can find me? So understanding that 3 a.m. question in their own language is like the first thing that every entrepreneur needs, not just for client attraction, but also for client retention. And if you can really kind of hone in on that and start helping to answer that question, you'll make sure that your ideal clients are coming to you, and that you're having the conversations that you need to have to get the right people into your services, into your courses, into your programs, whatever it is that you're offering. So the other thing is to make sure that you niche down. And I know that
mm.
don't roll your eyes. I know that you've all heard it. I know that some of you are, like, oh my gosh, but my stuff is good for everyone. That's great. But who do you want to work with? Because you don't want to work with everyone. There's probably people that annoy you, or you don't work well with, or you don't fit with. So, even though your product may serve everyone, who do you want to work with? What do they look like? And get as niche down as possible, because that's just going to help you really understand that 3 a.m. question. If you have more than one 3 a.m. question that your clients are asking, then you've probably not niche down far enough.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, that's really good. Um, and I'm just thinking the 3 a.m. question, if you're asking that question, your offer can cater to that solution.
Your offer, well, yeah, I mean, basically you want to be started again, you want to um put that 3 a.m. question into a quiz format and then start answering it. Like
Hmm.
start taking your clients on a little bit of a journey, a little bit of story of here's the problem you have, here's the solution I have. Let's ask a couple of questions to get to know each other better so that I can make sure the solution I have actually matches for what you need. Because I think of what a lot of entrepreneurs have been doing and um is kind of following this transactional model of
Mm,
you have a problem, I have a solution, give me your credit card, and we're off to the races. And it's like, well, wait a minute. That's like proposing marriage on the first date.
hmm.
We haven't gotten to know each other yet. You don't know enough about me to give me a solution yet. Right. So, like,
Hmm.
who are you to give me a solution when you haven't asked me any questions? You don't know enough about my business. You don't know enough about my journey to know where you can plug in best. And I think that as we move from a transactional paradigm into more of a relationship paradigm, people that ask questions first and take time to get to know their ideal clients and their qualified leads better are going to do better in business in general than those people that are just trying to run the transactions because that's kind of going away, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure a lot of the audience can relate to just checking out their DMs
Mm,
for those type of messages.
yeah, yeah.
It is going away,
Like
but it's still out there, unfortunately.
it is still out there, but the way to get ahead of the curve and get ahead of where the trend is going to be going is to move away from that languaging and that,
Yeah.
that instantaneous, give me your credit card now and we can solve all the world's
Mm,
problems. Like people are wise to that.
yep.
And they don't believe it and they kind of want to have a bit more of a relationship before they dive in.
Yep. Yep. That's one of the reasons that one of the things that we do is we have networking events because we want people to come in and get to know us, and build that know, like, and trust. And then on those networking calls, we also offer value. So I we're always like value led, right? What can we give you a value? How can you know us more to know that if we are even a fit, right? So
Yeah.
um and it's not such an upfront way, right? It's not like even me inviting someone to a strategy call. It's not like, hey, let's get on the strategy call. It's like, hey, just come hang out with us and some other people, right?
So here's another thing, a trend that I've been seeing is to not name things like breakthrough call or strategy call because that's just code for a sales call.
Hmm.
And people know that now. So, is like how do you add value to that call without it being necessary? Like it can turn into a sale or an offer
Hmm.
conversation. But how do you turn it into something that's valuable even if an offer is not made? So what
Hmm.
can you make sure that the client learns about either themselves or their business, and walk away from a call like that, even if they never talk to you again, they've gotten value.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, that's awesome. This question, I don't think I put in the questions that I shared with you, but it's coming to the top of my mind. So with quizzes, um, I think there's probably a balance, right? There's a balance of not feeling like they're filling out a job application versus it being something fun, right? So is there I hate to use the word secret again, but is there a secret to having that balance?
Yeah, there's a couple of rules of thumb I think are fair. If you are talking about an introduction or client attraction quiz, you've got maybe 5 to 8 questions really
Mm,
to keep people's attention before they're just going to fall off the quiz, even if
mm,
they are your ideal client. I was taking a quiz the other day because I take every quiz I can, right?
mhm,
It's fun for me. I like to see what other people are doing. I'll do the census if I get the chance just to
mm.
see what the questions are. Um, but not everybody's like me. And I even got to a place where I got to question 12 or so of a lead generation quiz and looked up and realized that it was 12 out of 38 questions.
Mm,
And I was like, nope, done. And I'll do the census.
mhm,
So yeah, no, I was done. So you've got about 5 to 8 questions. And it can't be questions that are just thrown in like the kitchen sink. Like there needs to be a story around the
Mm,
questions. Like, oh, you know what? Like you have this problem. Okay, well, let's dive into that a little bit. Like, how long have you been in business? Okay, well, how much how have like do you have a team? What's your IT solutions right now? Have you like what's your marketing? Like there are certain questions that you'd sit down and ask a friend if they came to you and said, "Okay, you know what? Let's go get coffee. I'm having this issue. I'm trying to, grow my business." And, you wouldn't just jump into, "Great, you know what? I have the perfect solution for you. Just give me $5,000 and I'll tell you about it."
yeah,
Like you'd ask a few questions like, "Okay, before I dive in, there's a lot going on with that question of like growing your business. Let's talk about what you're starting with, what challenges you've had, what you've tried, and what we can, maybe talk about going forward. Like it sounds like where you're getting stuck is this. I can help you with this. Do, these couple of things right off the bat so that if they walk away and never talk to you again, they've gotten value. But it intrigues them enough to know, oh my gosh, like, yeah, Doug knew me well enough to offer those solutions. And now I want to know more because obviously there's more to this problem. So yeah,
yeah.
there are some you and for the love of everything that is holy, don't put it into a big Google sheet dot like,
Mm,
it'll make it look like a mortgage application.
mm-hmm.
Um, use I typically use jot form and just put all the questions on cards so every question gets its own card. You can do that very easily and it makes it feel like it's progressing and moving along and as long as you don't have 38 questions, people will get through it.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And I like what you said there. It's going back to the value piece again. So, at the end of like a lot of times people do quizzes because they want a payoff at the end, right? They want the end, like they're hoping that the answers that they supply are going to give them some sort of solution. And kind of from what you're saying is like there is a payoff, and they're going to give them some sort of insight on the other end of that quiz as to how to take the next step forward, or how to solve a small part of their problem, which
Yes,
I think is key.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, you have to give a solution at the end of the quiz. If you don't, you can actually hurt your brand.
Mm,
You can hurt your business because people are like, "Oh, this was a bait and switch. They're just trying to get me on the webinar or whatever, or into that strategy call." People will get annoyed if if they don't get some sort of like a win.
hmm.
They want to learn something about themselves. That's why they take quizzes. Like they can be fun. And to your point earlier, we were talking about, the balance of, multiple questions and it being fun. One of the things about quizzes is that, it's not an academic exercise. You don't have to be, scientifically rigorous so that you can be, published in the journal of whatever. You can have some fun with this. There are some basic rules around good questions and good answers that you want to adhere to, but outside of that, show your personality. Like, you can this is your I call it the J.K. Rowling moment. This is your
Mm,
moment to create your own universe, with Harry Potter, everyone went to Hogwarts. They were all witches and wizards, so aka your ideal clients. And at the end of their first day, they all got into their own houses based on certain
mm.
characteristics. Those are your outcomes or your segments. But you get to name that anything you want, right? You get to create characters and avatars for each of your houses, quote unquote. And you can have some fun with it and be quirky if you're quirky, or be really thoughtful if you're really thoughtful. Just be yourself so that when they do get on a call, they're not like surprised by the personality they get on the other side.
Yeah, yeah, that is such great advice. And we could even dive into that more about building personal brand and IP, because there's other people out there, right? So people do, like, especially in our realm. Yes, we're not Coca-Cola, we're not Apple, so we don't have that type of brand where they're just buying based on brand. They're buying a lot of times based on the people that they're interacting with on this
Yes.
level. So the more that you can develop a personal brand and your own personal IP that is true and authentic, maybe just amplified a little bit more, right? Depending on how, what,
Yep.
if you're amplified personality already, then maybe you don't have to amplify it a little bit, but just kind of amplifying and just putting it out there more, of your true authentic self, right?
Yeah, and showing up as the expert in
Mm,
your in your particular category, in your industry. So, you get to show off a little bit of your expertise, but you don't have to do it in like, it doesn't have to be hardcore. It doesn't have to
mm,
be like I am the boss of everything or anything like
yeah.
that. You can make it fun and engaging and still come off as the expert. Um and build that know, like, and trust factor
Hmm.
in a lot shorter time frame than some other ways to connect with your ideal clients.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I love it. So how do you see the role of client engagement evolving in the future, and what strategies should entrepreneurs adopt to stay ahead?
Yeah, so we touched on this a little bit. We're going through a paradigm shift, where that transactional, very
Mm.
salesy, very, like, aggressive, buy this in 2.4 seconds, otherwise you're never going to see it again, and you won't make the, $7 million that you want to make. Um, like, nobody buys that anymore, because they see the next sale in the next
Hmm.
2 seconds or whatever. That parent like that's going away, and this idea of relationships is really what people want. The World Health Organization has actually cited one of the epidemics right now is isolation
Mm.
and connecting with others, so that people crave that connection. So if you are able to connect early with your ideal clients, build that connection, bring them into your community, and have that community of people that can talk and support and connect with one another, you're going to be ahead of a lot of other businesses if you can start that now. So asking questions is a great way to get to know people.
Mm.
And but not just asking questions with the intention of utilizing the information. So don't just do a quiz, look at the data that you're getting and make adjustments to your messaging or
Mm.
your questions or your offer based on what people are telling you, even within 5 to 8 questions. People are going to tell you, if you're not listening, they'll get wise to that and stop answering you. So you want to make sure that you're feeding back that, yes, I'm listening, I'm making changes, or hey, this was really interesting. Like 80% of you said this. I thought it would be 20%. Let's talk about this because that's weird. You can have there's content there to share, and again, not only make the client feel like they're listening, but show them that you're listening.
Yeah, I can cite like people that I know and our business that we have pivoted several times based on we've come up with an offer that we think the market wants, but the market tells us
Yeah.
what they want. And because we've gotten the feedback, we change what we offer to better suit the market because why you don't want to sell the wrong thing, right? That people don't want because then you're just asking not to get sales. So
Well, and there's no sense in putting a whole bunch of energy and effort and resources in building an entire, product lineup or offer, if you don't have the market research and the feedback, because you might like the days of if I build it, they will come are gone. Like that's
well,
just not going to happen. So, you need to be making sure that you are, solving a problem that people are willing to pay for.
yeah, yeah, I love that. The whole quizzes aspect plays into that market research. I don't think there's enough entrepreneurs, and we probably even with our business aren't doing enough market research um,
Mhm.
because it really helps you hone in on what you offer and who you're offering it to. So really, really cool.
And the language that they're using to express the problem, right? Like
Hmm.
where entrepreneurs, at least me, I don't know about you, Doug, but I can get real clever and then stop being clear
Hmm.
really
Hmm.
fast, right? Like all
Yep.
the big words and all the flowery stuff. And then it's like, what am I even saying? Like I've lost the plot. So, clear is always better than clever. And your clients will be able to tell you, like, this is what I'm thinking when I wake up at 3 a.m. And it might not be what you thought it was. Likely it isn't what you thought it was.
Yeah, one thing that comes to mind is just because I had a conversation about this recently is the crypto markets, right? You'll get people like people that don't understand with crypto and things like that. Everyone that knows cryptos comes at people with the crypto language, right? They talk about and they're like over my head. I don't know anything that you're saying. It's probably valuable, but I don't understand, right? So there's no
Yeah.
education on the front end, or there's no speak breaking it down into terms that your audience, the audience that you might want to appeal to, could understand, so that they can get a little bit of education and get on the other side. So I definitely get that.
Well, that's where you're not connecting with your ideal client. Because like people that are talking at that level, they're not talking to the right people, right? They need to be talking to people that already are educated,
Hmm.
and ready to go. So, if they want starters, then they need to break down those, complex conversations into something that people actually, are interested in learning about and listening to. Crypto is a hard one. It's not for everyone, and it's like I know enough about crypto to know that it's not for everyone, but it's also very complicated to try and actually, explain. And it's not
Yeah.
it's not a 5-second conversation.
Right. Yeah. The other thing I want to explore real quick is kind of go back to part of our conversation with the way things are changing in the marketplace. And that is, we talked a lot about relationships, and then we see there's AI, right? So AI is coming in. And so a lot of entrepreneurs are trying to learn that balance. How much AI, how much relationships, and where do we merge? I know we are doing that. We are very focused on making sure that we are um, balanced in that aspect. So if you could just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, this is an interesting conversation. I actually came back from a conference last week where we talked a lot about this. I am of the opinion, and it's my opinion, that AI is just like any other tool. It's an extension, and it just happens to be an extremely powerful tool that you can be using to for things like automations and um, and helping some of those process parts of your business go further faster. I think that if you use AI as a tool and not as a crutch,
Mm,
and you use it with very specific, outcomes in mind, it can free up a lot of your time to work even more on the business instead of in the business. And I know a lot of people think, oh, but AI is going to do my sales calls for me and my sales, my sales, setting appointments and so on. I'm of the opinion that that's great. I mean, as long as it makes my clients feel like they are heard and that they are getting the information that they need when they need it, I'm totally fine with that. But when it comes to actually talking about the strategy and their business
hmm.
and, putting food on the table and so on, like I want to be in that conversation. But if I have AI helping with that front end a lot more, that leaves a lot more time for me to connect with more people and have a bigger impact on those, more strategic conversations. So I'm not of the camp that AI is going to take over the world and like it's all like, darkness and apocalyptic and all the rest of it. I think it's a tool, and tools can be used, correctly, or they can be used in kind of dodgy ways.
Hmm.
If the way that you're presenting yourself and the way that you're running your business is with authenticity and integrity, then AI can help you by, promoting you still with authenticity and integrity. I don't think it takes away from that.
Yeah, yeah. Back to your point again, and I believe the same way. People are not starved, but longing for community, right? They're not going to
Yeah.
get community with AI. So if you have some sort of community aspect within your type business, it is a huge bonus. I think the more that AI rises, the more people are still going to want more people are going to want community. So it's important to that's kind of where the balance needs to be. It's like you have to give people a community. Use the AI tools for leverage to automate parts of your business, but still, human connection is super important.
Yeah, and I think AI is just going to help people go faster.
Hmm.
I think that I hope that AI is going to help more businesses, small businesses succeed. and get to some of those more complicated ways to reaching a mass audience easier, and less shiny object syndrome that a lot
Hmm.
of people, like a lot of entrepreneurs, can fall into. Like, oh, now I need to do this thing, and now I need to dance on TikTok, and now I need to do this. And like, if AI can, like, just be like, okay, here's what we're gonna do, and I'm just gonna go off and kind of do this for you, and we've got people that can set that up. I think that that's, help me to help make a bigger impact, then
Hmm.
I'm all for it. Do I think AI is going to replace me? No. Because that's just not how I work.
Hmm.
And it's not how a lot of people work. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I think that it is a powerful tool, though, and any powerful tool has its pros and cons.
Yep. Yep. It seems like we're on the same page for most of most of that about AI. So, thank you so much, Catherine. How can people find out more about how you can help them with their quizzes, or all the things that you can help them with?
Yeah, so the best way to reach me is actually to go to quizformybiz.com. And surprise, surprise, it's a quiz that will help you to understand where there might be some gaps in your communication with your ideal client, and how you can use quizzes to help you bridge those gaps. And then on the back end of that are all the ways that you can connect with me. So quizformybiz.com is the best place to connect.
Nice. So, if you are watching this on YouTube, that link will be in the description, possibly even in the comments. If you are listening to this on a podcast on any of the major podcast channels, it'll be in the show notes. So look for it in the show notes there. Um, and my last question for you, Catherine, I ask every entrepreneur. I love, because I always feel like at the end of an interview, the guest probably, oh, I wish I could have said that. You didn't ask me that question. This is a free form question. What parting words of wisdom or advice or some of your expertise would you like to give the audience?
That's a great question. I think, by asking questions, you're going to get to know people, but be authentic with wanting to
Mm,
get to know them. So don't just put like together a bunch of questions and then never look at the information or never use it.
mm,
If you're going to really want to get to know people, then get to know them, because that's
mm,
that's where the fun is. And don't be afraid to say, you know what, it's not me. Like, you want to attract the best and release the rest, because there's somebody
mm,
else's best. So it's okay if it's not me. I might know the person that you do need to connect with. So, like, don't take it personally if you're not the fit. Like, that should be okay, and it should, like, you should have, there's more than enough people for you to release the people that aren't for you, and release them so that they can find the people that are for them.
Yeah, very, again, think the same way. And also, often when people come to me and they're not the right fit, and I refer them to somebody else, what happens is that reciprocity, right? They're going to remember that person gave me value, and they didn't just try and sell me, but they gave me value. They connected me to who I needed to connect with. Now, when I run into somebody, and I know that that's the type of person they're looking for, I'm going to connect them. So
Yeah.
it's just amazing the way that all works out.
It is, and it's powerful. It's powerful
Hmm.
when you say, "You know what? I don't think that you're ready for this yet. I think that you should talk to, Shiraz, or to Doug, or to Nikki, or somebody, and get your messaging right, or get your podcast going, or whatever it is,
Hmm.
and then come back to me if you feel like that's the right fit." But it's, yeah, and that just also shows that you're listening, right?
Hmm.
Like, that you're not just, "Oh, I'm going to sell you because you have a credit card." But you know what? From the sounds of it, I don't think you're ready for this part yet. You're probably better served getting help here. And that's going to stick with them too. People are going to remember, wow, she didn't take me on because I
Hmm.
wasn't ready, and when I got ready, I was right
Hmm.
back with her, right?
Yep.
And I'd
Yep.
rather have that.
Yeah, we could get into a whole sales conversation about the best salespeople as our listeners, but we that's another conversation for another time. Thank you so much, Catherine. And until next time, entrepreneurs, keep moving forward.